This is Open Door with Vince Robinson. In-depth conversations with people who are making a difference in the lives of others here and around the world. Culture is at the heart of who you are. Know your culture, find yourself on Open Door with Vince Robinson.
Grand Dawn and Great Rising, Cleveland, Ohio, and the rest of planet Earth. Welcome to another edition of Open Door with Vince Robinson. Today I have the privilege of speaking with someone that I have known for years and years and years, and I am expecting to learn things about him that I did not know prior to this broadcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're in for a good ride with a good friend. His name is Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah, and he just told me that he grew up in Cleveland, so we'll talk about that. But what I really would like to talk to him about is his career as a musician and some of the things that he's done, including being part of the group Hue People, which has a very storied career here in Cleveland and other parts of the United States. So welcome to Open Door with Vince Robinson. Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah, how you doing today, brother?
All is well. Alhamdulillah. All is well, sir.
All right. So
Yes, sir.
we'll start off with what it was like for you to grow up in Cleveland, your opportunity to represent your hood, and give us a glimpse of what your life was like before you, or what your life was like before you reached adulthood.
Okay. Well, appreciate the opportunity to speak to Cleveland and the rest of the world today. But growing up in Cleveland, I grew up in Cleveland, and I grew up in a neighborhood, in a community. I actually use the word community because neighborhood is all right, but community where it was predominantly actually all African, Afrocentric people, Africans, what people call black people. And I went to a school that had, white teachers, some black teachers. I didn't see any. I can't remember any black male teachers, but females, and they were all, just really engaging. Back in the day, we had, like, when you went to school, after you got out of primary, kindergarten, then you went to first grade, second grade, third grade, but they didn't just say first grade; they said 1A, 1B. So you went to 1A first, and if you pass, you go to 1B. And once you, and then you would continue to do that. And the school was old school because the teachers used to give you swats and little swats on the hand. It's so sort of embarrassing, but it didn't kill me. And I think it really enhanced the fact that you have to sit quietly and not disturb anyone else and learn your lessons, Huff Elementary School is where I went to, and that's right over on Huff. And that area, that community there, they experienced the Huff riots. And so it was pretty intense to live there. But what I liked about it was the street I lived on. I had friends on one end of the street, and on the other end, it was some more friends. And it was a one-way street, so traffic could only come one way. So you always know when the traffic was coming. You couldn't get, you would see it coming. And I mean, I tell you, I developed so much at that injunction in my life, where once I got older, because I moved in that area when I was 2 years old, and as I got older, and meeting all the young people around the area, there were the development of the human experience was intense because we played in the street, we played baseball, basketball, football. We ran track right there on the street and see who was the fastest runner. And I can go in depth in this interview, but I really don't want to do that. But it was quite an experience. And then as I got older, some of the young men who were older than I was, they went to the service, came back, and like I told you, I was on one part of the street, and the other part. Well, one part, the brother he went to the service, and he came back and he taught us how to drill. And drilling was a rites of passage because you wanted to get some stripes, and the only way you can get the stripes is to learn the proper, drill. And you got to go left to the right, left, tangent. You had to go through all that, and you couldn't be a little wimp. You wanted to be. It was challenging, so you wanted to be like your buddies, and you wanted to actually be better. And you would learn that drill, and it's like to the left, to the right, to the rear, and you had to remember that cadence. And it was just, like I said, it was a rites of passage that was pretty intense. And then on the other side, down the street there, the other brother, he went to the service also, but he taught drilling also. But we also did guerrilla warfare, where we had to learn to climb into the houses, some of the vacant houses that was available there, climb into the houses. And then I remember this one time we had to jump out the second floor window on a double mattress. And oh my goodness, and it's amazing that nobody got killed because we actually did all this stuff. I mean, it was just so much. When I think about the olden days, as we would call them, it was probably the utopian of my life when I was young. The children don't play like we used to play. We didn't have we had nobody getting stolen and murdered. I mean, it was a few times where they had I can't think what they called him, the cat man or something like that, cat burglar, and they finally caught this guy. But it was things like that happened, and it give you some fear. But I left that area and went to the Collinwood area, and actually after I left Health Elementary School, I went to Harry Davis, which was really, really interesting. Again, tattling was part of the curriculum. So if you got in trouble, you had to get a SWAT, and you had to learn you had to learn all your curriculums, and again, being challenged. You wanted to be good. I in that school, well, actually, if I back up a little bit, my first experience on the stage was playing Santa Claus in elementary school. And then as time went on, I played Santa Claus. It was interesting. And then later on, it was a play where I played some hippies, and we had to have water pipes. And it was really, really interesting to think about it. We had to enact military, like the back in the day, like the not the Civil War, but the American War, and had to bring in guns, and it was just interesting to experience that. I went to Harry Davis thereafter, and that's when I started singing more. I was in the seventh grade. I was in the what do you call it, the geek club, and I sang soprano because I was young, and I sang with the girls. Then as I got older, I started singing alto. Then I finally got to tenor, which I really liked that because my voice was changing and getting deeper. That was very interesting to be there because we used to have at lunchtime you had a chance to go to the drama classes, or you can go to the movie, and I can't remember having I never had no fights in school, I can't remember seeing a lot of people fighting, even though there was some challenging times like that. Then after that school, I went 8th grade to Collinwood, and Collinwood was interesting because you start off, if you was in the 7th grade, you was a flat, and then you get to 8th grade, you was a sharp, and then when you get to 9th grade, that's when your GPA and everything like that kicked in, and you had to keep your grade level up so that you could possibly get a scholarship, because it helped you get there. While I was there, I was going to be a doctor. I'm fast forwarding it because I was even there. I was in the choir. I was in a geek club, which was all boys, all young men, and I was in the theater. Again, enacting all kind of crazy, things. And that school, Collinwood, had a full theater. So had I known I was going to like theater, like I've got to be later on in my life, I'd have learned a lot more about theater because they had the full shebang there. They had, staging was unreal. When I look back on it and think about it, but all I was doing was acting and singing, and I sang in all the different choirs, and we did a little bit of acting there. But then in that first year I was there, we seen, because it was an integrated school, we seen the white kids, and it was what Collinwood was known in the 60s to be riot, because the Europeans over that way, especially this one guy they called the chief, he would gather all the guys up, and I think he had graduated, but he didn't want us to be around. So he gathered all those young white boys, and they would be outside, and they would march around the school, and you catch somebody outside the school and fight them and beat them up, and sometimes they came into the school. So that's when I started experiencing white folks. I guess most people live in Cleveland and places like that got a chance to be in an integrated situation. I didn't get bused, but I was in that situation. Some kids did get bused to our school because they were smart. They had programs that was really good. Later, before I graduated, they stopped all the extracurriculum. That's when they were stopping all the extracurriculum, because in that school they had electrician. You could you could study electricity, carpentry, metal, and as I got older, they had drama class, drama club, and everything. When I got to my senior year, they started cutting all these programs out. So if you didn't get it when you was younger, they changed the curriculum so that I was going to be a doctor. So I was doing all this science. I did algebra, trig, all that stuff because I knew I needed it to go to college to be a doctor. But as time went on, I was getting tired of school and what they was teaching us.
It's really interesting as you tell us about your educational experience, the different changes that it went through, going from having all those options available to you while you were in school to seeing them being taken away. And then you fast forward to today and you see that the students really don't have as many opportunities as you had in the past. I want to talk to you about your transition from wanting to be a doctor into what you eventually did after you graduated from high school, and we'll explore some of the great things that happened to you in your career as a musician when we get back. This is Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM, WOVU, Burton Bell Car Community Radio. I'm having a conversation with Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah. We'll be right back after this.
We are 95.9, streaming live on www.wovufm.org. wovu.org, as well as providing you our free mobile app. Download through Google and Apple. Don't forget to see us on our social media platforms. Stay connected to WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Hi, this is Olivera Perkins from Signal Cleveland, and you're listening to WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Hi, I'm Candace Wilder from Signal Cleveland, and you're listening to WOVU 95.9 FM, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson and the conversation with Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah, who just shared with us that he grew up originally in the Huff neighborhood, and he was actually there when the uprisings took place. And then he transitioned into a Collinwood neighborhood, and he talked about some of the things that were happening to him while he was in school. I find it interesting, Baba Afi-Nur, that you had the experience of having your hand tapped a few times, and then you talked about getting to a certain grade level and you had to experience paddling, or perhaps some of the students in your classroom had to experience paddling. I had a similar experience myself. I was in elementary school in Massillon, Ohio, Franklin Elementary, and I was the teacher's pet. There was no secret about that, and part of the reason for that is because I was just advanced in terms of where the other students were. So one time somebody in the back of the class was talking, and she said, "Who was that?" And somebody pointed at me, and it wasn't me, but I had to go up to the front of the class, bend over, and this great big paddle that was probably 3 inches wide and maybe 2.5 feet long with holes in it, it met my backside, and I was not very happy about that. But it's just interesting that at one point that type of measure could be taken in a classroom, but the consequence of it was that students had a certain level of respect for the authority of the teacher, and now it's a little bit different. I wanted to ask you also about what it was like for you to live through the uprising that happened in Huff.
Well, it was really unreal because I had to go to school, and in this neighborhood, in this community, people that was around that school didn't get bused there. They was living around the school. So when he had the uprising, you know who they had to bring in, right? They had to bring in the National Guard. Yeah, the National Guards had to come, and they came and they had tanks. They had these Jeeps with the big, with their 50 caliber machine guns. I mean, it was very intense. And I was a guard, so I had to stay on the corner and help the kids get in and out the area. And but to see these tanks and these Jeeps and these soldiers in your neighborhood, it was very intimidating. Very intimidating. Matter of fact, I don't know if it had an effect on me or not, but I just know I went through it. I experienced it. When you had to go to the corner store to get some candy or food or whatever, they were there, and they had, in that area they burned down a lot of the stores. It seemed like it was intentional, because once they burned all these stores down, those stores disappeared. There wasn't no more stores around, just a few. Because you could go in my neighborhood on Huff, you can go down that street and go into a place. We didn't have malls, but you can go in that street and you can go into one of the stores that was like a clothing, 5 and 10. They call it 5 and 10, where you can almost buy everything. It's like today we call them Family Dollar and all that, but back in that days, you can go there and you can buy almost anything, little toy guns and animals, bag of animals. And then you had the big people stuff, but it was pretty intense, to say the least. And I remember sitting on my mother's, I was on the porch where I lived. We lived upstairs, and you could see in the sky, you could see the burning. You could see it was it was just, sky was just red. And you seeing people pushing carts, grocery carts with TVs and different things in them going up and down your street, And of course, my mother, she wasn't going to have me out there, but I did experience that and seeing that, and that was pretty intense. If you see movies, you'll see those things. And I actually was in the middle of it because the school and where I lived, it wasn't even, let's see if I can look at it now, it wasn't even a mile. That's how close we lived. It wasn't even a mile away from the school where I lived. So I would walk to school and walk back home. It wasn't that far. And it was the crazy times. It was really crazy times at that particular time when they had the riots.
Yes. Well, I'll take this opportunity to mention that there has been a historical marker placed at the corner of 79th and Huff. It was actually placed there just a relatively short time ago, within the past couple of months. So they are recognizing the fact that the uprisings took place, and I think it was really honorable of them to call them uprisings as opposed to riots.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yes,
yeah, I like that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you moved from Huff to Collinwood. You had that high school experience. You said that you wanted to be a doctor, but for some reason you were dissuaded from that. So
yeah.
What happened? What was the choice that you made?
I've been through all of it. I was getting ready to do when I did trig, and I was going to do calculus, and I just got tired of it. Because being in that school, there was no black teachers, wasn't no black male teachers. Matter of fact, my homeroom teacher in my senior year, she was a Black history student and teacher, but they had this Mr. Duran. He was a white guy, and they didn't have no black teachers. So I remember one day in his class, I was taking black studies, black history. He actually said something really derogatory to us to see if we could catch what he was saying. And he said something, I can't remember what it was, it was so long ago, but it was very derogatory. And he was saying it on purpose, almost like he was trying to see if we would catch it. And nobody caught it. And he had to bring it back and tell everybody what he had just said. And nobody caught the fact that he was insulting us, in the way he was coming with it. So, but I did get a chance to do a lot of singing in that school. It was pretty intense from the 8th grade on up to 12th grade. I sang most of those days, in that school, and it was, and then I had some of the buddies, we had our little doo-wop, we go upstairs in the tower, and because the tower had an echo, a nice reverb, and we go up there and sing and carry on. So it was some, it was really nice. I just have to say it was a nice experience, in some ways. But I was so naive as a young man. I didn't take advantage of the education like I could have, because I did take French and all that kind of stuff, because you had to do all that stuff, to be able to go to college. But after I decided I wanted to be, I wanted to stay home and work. My brother was he was a tenor by the trades. He was in the trades, and he told me about it. And he told me that would be a good thing for a black man to get involved with. And I changed my major from the academic part to do I did vocational drawing, things that would help me get involved with the housing situation that was going on with people building houses. And if you got a trade, you can get you a job, and that's what I did. I got involved, and I was working a metal fabricating company, and I had already known about the fact that they had what do you call it, some tutoring that you could go to, and that would help you take the test outside the construction company outside downtown and all that. So when I was working for this company, I had already made another. I went to General Motors. I went to Coit Road, and I was getting. I told you I wanted to work, so I was gonna get a job there in the factory. But as I was sitting there, I heard these guys talking about the skilled trades. Well, I told you I had been doing tutoring with it, so I knew all about it because my brother. So I just sat there and waited for them to give their application in. When I got there, I said, because I already filled out my application. I said, what application was that? He told me. I said, could I get one of those? And he said, yeah. So I got that, filled it out. And then fast forwarding it, I had to go do the test. Of course, I passed the test. I wanted to be an electrician because, if you're an electrician, you're the first on the job and you're the last on the job, which means you make a lot of money and the pay is pretty good. And but I didn't get that. I got to be a tinsmith, which was okay, So I got a chance to experience that. But while I was doing that, when you were in General Motors, it was like a universe in that spot because they had people selling clothing. I mean, all kind of stuff was going on. So I met a young man, Sandy Lassane, and he was my elder. He's about 8-9 years older than I was, and so I got a chance to experience talking with him. He was playing a little guitar. I was playing a little piano, and one thing led to another. And we had a group called what did we call ourselves? We called ourselves Silent Light. Silent Light. Yeah, that was crazy. I made me some business cards, and I made a logo for that. But here we are working at General Motors, and in the evening we would get together and jam. And and then, and he was reading a book called Autobiography of a Yogi, real thick book, about 2 inches thick. And I got curious, and he was my mentor, and I learned a lot, about the metaphysical and all that. And that was that's a big part of my life even today. Yes. Because you never really lose those things, those tools that you gather. But that was the beginning of me playing the piano with a band. And Billy Cauley came along playing percussions, and then Carlton came playing flute. And then somewhere in there, we stopped playing, and I started playing with these other guys, which was his brother who played violin, Diaba, BB Lassane. And he was extraordinary.
Okay, so essentially what we've arrived at is the beginning roots of your musicianship publicly, and I want to explore that as well as some of the other roles that I've seen you play in the musical world. We're going to get to that when we get back. This is Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM WOVU. I'm speaking with Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah. We'll be right back on this Burton Bell Carr community radio station. Our voices united. We'll be right back.
WOVU 95.9 thrives daily to provide a positive forum for discussion of community issues and opportunities. Provide a creative platform for every segment of our community. Produce and distribute entertaining and uplifting cultural, educational, and artistic programming. Produce and distribute local community news, information, and public service announcements. Provide a platform for the live coverage of local community and school sports. Provide a portal for outsiders to rediscover the Forgotten Triangle and its potential. provide media education and training to participating members of the community. Make no mistake, WOVU 95.9, Our Voices United, a solution-driven radio station.
In an ideal world, every neighborhood, no matter where a kid lives, no matter their background, they can choose any school they can go to and guarantee that they have high quality options. And we've already started to do this work. And there are pockets of excellence throughout our system. That's what the future looks like.
This message has been brought to you by Cleveland Metropolitan School District and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson and the fascinating conversation I'm having with Baba Afi-Nur. Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah. He's spoken to us about the beginning of his musical career in Cleveland, and I was just wondering when that was going to happen. I know you talked about being a young person and starting out as a soprano and then eventually graduating to tenor, and I can remember what it was like for me, Baba Afi-Nur. I was 12 years old and my voice started to change, and when that voice started changing, that's when I stopped singing. But I have a feeling that if I studied voice, I might be able to sing. Maybe not as well as Afi-Nur, but I might be able to do that as well. I'm gonna look into that, and don't be surprised if someday you walk into a club and see me on stage with a microphone in front of my face, singing and playing piano. Let's project that into the future. But in the meantime, we're gonna come back to you. You were playing with this group, Silent Light.
Silent Light, yeah, Silent Light, and after that group, I was freelancing with these other young brothers, and actually they were more advanced on their instruments than I was. But I was still trying to get involved with them, but I couldn't really keep up with them. So what I did, I remember Skip Gibson, which today he's still playing. I mean, he's still playing, Brother Skip. And back then he had Doc Pearson, they had all the heavy duties. Even Fred Weeks was back then. And like I said, I was not as I hadn't been playing the keys like they had been playing their instruments. So I tried to figure out, I was trying to get a piano player to play for me so I can sing and they play, but I couldn't. I said, well, I'm going to have to learn how to play keyboards myself. So I got more and more serious about it. But in between time, I used to go out to their shows and I would help Skip and all the other brothers, pack their equipment up, set it up, and I would go to the gig and I would just set it up, help them set it up, break it down, and I actually learned how to get involved with staging, with the musicians. And it is so many things I could speak on. It's just I would have to sit and elaborate about all this stuff to really put it together, properly. But that experience happened, and as time went on, I got married somewhere in there. I got married, and actually I got married before Silent Light. I got married before that, and I was with my children's mother, and I used to go to Smiling Dog. I used to go to the Cleveland Agora, and that's where I met Mr. Robinson, Vince Robinson. Vince Robinson, I used to see him there, and he was like a reporter. And, he would take all these beautiful photo shots. He'd be on the floor right in front of I always like to get be in the front of the, next to the stage, so I can see the brothers play, and and I look up and I see this brother taking pictures. He'd be on the floor just taking all these pictures, and it was Vince Robinson. That's when I first met him. I had no idea that he even played instruments until years later I seen him play. But getting back to learning how to be doing the staging and and getting more and more serious about music, because I mentioned Brother Sandy. He was the elder brother, but he was off into jazz. So he knew, I mean, if you talk about jazz, this is like a class. We talking about Coltrane. I mean, everybody. I mean, anybody that was really serious, like Duke Ellington. I mean, I was into R&B. I got rid of all my R&B CDs. I'm not CDs, but my albums. Or I gave them away to my sister-in-law, and I got into all these jazz. I was going to the Record Revolution and all the places buying these albums, and I got deeper and deeper into the whole thing of music, and learning about all these fantastic Return to Forever, Weather Report, all kind of musicians that were like awesome people that you wanted to be like. So as time went on, and this is a lot of time that went past by. I also got into Bob Marley big time, and I'm trying to speed it up and go quicker to where I ended up at, because after I did all the jazz and did the metaphysical meditations and all that kind of stuff, I got involved with reggae. And Bob, of course, he was one of my main people I was listening to. But then you had Peter Tosh, and you had all the other brothers. And one day, I went to Peabody's Down Under in the Flats. It was called Pirates Cove at the time, and I went down there and I witnessed a group called Kaya, and in that group was Matunji. It was Sheriff's brother, Shadow. He was playing keys. And Buddy was playing guitar. Raymond Cole was the lead singer. And I can go on, like I said, if I dig into it, because in my mind, I'm sitting here with you guys listening to this interview, and I can't really grab everything that's in my mind from back then. But I watched the group. I liked the group. So I looked up, and I kept going to the shows. And one day, I heard that they were needing a keyboard player. I'm a keyboard player. So that's when I started playing reggae music, and I got involved with them. Of course, there was no books, so you could learn these songs. You had to hear it, and they had Buddy. He was a Caucasian brother. He was a white brother. He was a guitar player, and he was pretty good. So when they hired me to play, because they didn't know me, I went to the rehearsal. They seen me, and I had learned a little bit about reggae and how to play the rhythm and stuff. And all of a sudden, they had all these gigs. They were going to all these colleges, all up and down, Ohio, PA, Detroit. And here I am. I don't know any of these songs except from listening to them. I never sat and logged it in. So I had to start charting the songs. And as we would get to a gig, I would find out what the song list was. I would list it all up, and I would go with Buddy, because he was doing chords too. And I had to get it. I said, Buddy, so steer it up. What's the chords? Whatever song it was, I had to get the chords from him. And this is during the day before the gig, sometime right before the show. And that's the beginning of my experience with reggae music. And and you get more serious with it, and you start learning it at home. And before you know it, you getting all these albums, and you listening to all this music, and you just get so intense. And see, it wasn't just the music; it was the culture. Because Matunji, he was a Garveyite, so he taught me about Marcus Garvey. He told me about him, and then he also Rastafarian, you know, and it was quite an experience. And I had started, locking and had my locks coming out, and I just enveloped, not developed. Well, I developed the reggae experience, but I really got deep into Rastafarianism and seeing how they lived, and the whole bit. It was pretty intense. And then that was Kaya. So after Kaya, the group sort of defunct, and it became Spirit Eye. And some of the musicians from that group, we left and formed another group. And then I met a fabulous brother named Cellist, named Ed Skinner. He was a bass player, and he was about 18 years old. I remember Chubbs was 17 when I met him, but I was a grown man. I had children, and I had a job, with General Motors. But I was doing this music, really intense, traveling with it, and I don't get ahead of myself. I'm trying to keep it close. Spirit Eye. They was playing Police. It was very, very, what you would call, it wasn't just, it was more than just reggae music, but they took, because the Police, they sang and did reggae music, but it was a little bit more rockish, So that was quite an experience. And then after that group defunct, well, actually I left that group, and what did I do? I can't remember right now. I'm trying to think what I do after that. Well, I got my own group called The Word.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
well, it's interesting, Baba Afi, that you talked about being so into jazz that you gave up your R&B collection.
Yeah, I did.
And then when you look at the dichotomy, when you look at jazz versus reggae music, I don't want to diminish the reggae music, but there's a certain level of simplicity in the music, and I will credit you, because I don't know if you remember this, but there was a time when Another Level moved from the Greenlight Shopping Center to a location on Lakeshore. And I'll never forget having a keyboard set up, and Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah was schooling me on how to play reggae music. And I ended up doing a gig or two with Ras Matunji.
Yeah, okay.
It's really how it is now, 2 degrees of separation, so to speak.
Right.
Another vivid memory that I have when you talk about stage managing is I remember one time I was at Luke Easter Park, and I have been shooting for the Eastside Daily News for a long time. So I would go to concerts, I would take pictures, and then they would get published in the newspaper. And one time I needed to get backstage, and it was Afi-Nur that made sure that I got through and I was able to do what I did. So I'm eternally grateful to you for the grace that you extended to me in certain situations. I can't say that I remember the Agora specifically, but it was a long time ago, and you got 5 years on me. So
man, you were like, I felt that you was the epitome of a photographer.
Oh yeah,
because you was at almost all the shows.
Yeah,
that was. When we talking about some deep, heavy people, man.
Oh yeah, I remember.
We talking about Gato Barbera. Mm-hmm. We talking about John Lou Ponte.
Yep.
So many of them.
Well, the one that stands out most of all for me is Parliament Funkadelic and Bootsy.
Yes.
And that was a concert that I actually met Bootsy, and I remember Ed Sparks was backstage hanging out with everybody.
Electric Sparks, yeah, man.
Yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah, he was a great brother. I love that brother.
We're gonna shift gears And we're going to talk about a musical group that you were in for a long time and made quite an impact, not just on Cleveland, but other parts of the country. The name of the group is Hue People. We're going to talk about Hue People when we get back. This is Open Door with Vince Robinson on 95.9 FM, WOVU, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio. Back in a few.
At CMSD, we believe in creating access to services, programs, and opportunities. Every day, we strive to provide innovative learning experiences where passions lead to career paths. From trade education to early college courses, the possibilities are profound, empowering every scholar to discover their path and achieve their dreams. The future of CMSD starts here.
This message has been brought to you by Cleveland Metropolitan School District and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our voices united, Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Here at 95.9, we are committed to inclusion, outreach, education, transparency, accuracy, and accountability for us, by us, our voices united. WOVU, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Welcome back to Open Door with Vince Robinson and my conversation with Baba Afi-Nur Nkrumah, who has just described a musical career that saw him working at General Motors and also moonlighting as a reggae musician and being a part of several groups until he founded his own group. And after all that, eventually he was instrumental in forming another group. I'm going to invoke a name, Stephen E. Boyd. I'm sure everybody knows Steve because Steve knows everybody. Yeah, but talk to us about the way Hue People came together.
Okay, well, let me back up just an inch.
Okay.
Because when I left all the other groups that was playing reggae, and I decided, well, I had to do this because I liked reggae. And what it was about that group was, I thought to myself, I said, it's words that I like. So inside me came that name, The Word, because in the beginning was the Word, et cetera, et cetera. And it was me, drums, bass, and keys, and guitar. And I don't know if you know Hiram Biff Bay.
Yes,
he was the bass. He was the bass player. Now he this is before he played with Gorilla Dread and all that. And he's playing bass. I got a nice picture of him and I standing up on the stage at the Splash way back in the day. And so we had that group, and then he had to leave. He retired from it. I kept it going, the Word. Then eventually I got my daughters involved. Actually, before that, I was singing. I had daughters of Nubia, Safa and Samira, and because they were playing with Matunji too, and they was playing like how we do today. Everybody's playing with everybody. And after they left, I needed some female singers. So Sister Tenzi, she was involved, and I needed another singer. So my daughter was 13 years old, so she got involved, and she became my singer. And we continued to play, and then Tenzi left, and I had to get another singer. And my second oldest daughter, she turned 13, so here she got thrown in there. So they became. I was the Word, and because my name Afi-Nur, Nur means light, I said the Daughters of Light. So it was the Word featuring the Daughters of Light, and so we can fast forward from that point to where I got involved with Matunji again with a group called it was Earth Force, but then we left Earth Force, and me and the sax man, guitar, and trombone, Brother Young, we formed a group called UAG because it was Ulysses, Afi-Nur, and Ghani. But we couldn't figure out a name, so we just called it the UAG band. Now I'm gonna tell you, the UAG band was, man, we traveled up and down, all around Florida, what's the name of that place down in Louisiana? Man, we was everywhere. We performed a lot, and we, did. I'm a songwriter, so I wrote a lot of songs, and the management recorded them, and we was traveling promoting that. And as time went on, I sort of got tired of it a little bit. Things happen if you know anything about music business, and so I left that group and I started recording for myself. And I recorded myself, and I was getting ready to promote just me, Afi-Nur. Because I was Baba Afi-Nur, but I just called myself Afi-Nur. And Steve, he was my buddy. I knew him. And one day I was asking him to help me promote this CD I just had put together, a little EP. And he was helping me do that a little bit. And then we had a chance to do some programs as with Mr. Who was his name? God, come on now. Come on, old man. 71-year-old man.
Not Louis Moore.
No. Oh, God, come on. George Frazier.
Okay.
You know George Frazier.
Yes.
Because he was really, really getting this thing off the ground. And Steve hired me to help him because he was hired they was doing this big show, this big festival that he does every year anyway. And it was the first year. And he hired me to help him so we could do all the music bases so that whenever they called, like Steve Harvey was an MC, and he would say say Vince Robinson, and then between the time you get from where you was at to the stage, we had a little music base we had to put together, and maybe about so many pieces of music we listened to. So Steve involved me with that project, and that's what started our relationship together. And we got a chance to, at the end of that weekend, we got a chance to sing some freedom songs and some gospel pieces. And we hired Sister Barbara Barrett and Seco and who else? There was a few other people. And we did this, we did this grand finale to his program. It was, church type stuff, gospel music. So Steve got the idea. I know that's where he got the idea, because that's what because we wouldn't do anything. I wasn't doing anything except when I was promoting my music, and he approached me about the music in a group, but he already had Sister Nita in mind. I said, well, we got to get Seco because she got a quick ear. She can hear real good and she can learn very fast. And that's the beginning of Hue People. And I remember when we was asking about, what's the name? What's the name? And I don't know who it was. I can't say it was me, but somebody said, what about Hue? Like you people? Hue, we know with a Y, and we just changed the Y to H. Hue People, which is a hue, the color, which we all got different hues. And we created this group called Hue People. And what I liked about it, see, first you got to have a band, right? Most people think, well, I got to go get a band. But me being a singer, I said, well, we got a band. I'm singing bass. Steve's doing tenor. Seco's doing alto. And Anita's going to be soprano most of the time. So now we're going to do a cappella. And that's how we started. That's how the big part of us started, because we didn't have a band. So we just started doing all the a cappella stuff. And then, the rest of it's history when it comes to that group.
Yeah.
And after
You know, the benefit of being an a cappella group is what you just stated. You don't have to have a band, and if you don't,
right, and you can do it anywhere, anytime.
Right, you don't, you can do it anywhere, anytime. And the other thing about it too is that you don't have to split that paycheck so many different ways.
Man, please, that was the biggest part, because if you had to get a group and you had to pay those guys, and you know how you musicians are in Cleveland, they want real money. You can't get them no $20, $25. They want some money.
Right.
So we were just beginning, so nobody knew us, and nobody gonna give us no $4,000 or $5,000, and we can afford a big production. So that was a way for us to get involved and get in without a lot of economic pressures.
Well, there's another benefit that has, I guess, developed or has evolved, I'll say, in with that term, from what you all have done as a group, and I'm speaking of present and I'm speaking of past, and that is the fact that there was such a level of consciousness in the selections that you all, brought out to the world. Can you talk?
Yeah.
Can you talk about why it was important to you to be a part of something so progressive?
Well, like you just said, if we're going to sing something, we have to be singing something to the people, for the people. And, people like Nita, she brought in a lot of beautiful pieces of music. Steve, and he was always laid back. And Sequel started coming in as we got more into the group. But Nita, she was responsible for a lot of the songs that I started liking, like I Never Turn Back, Malice Toward None. These songs were like classic songs in themselves. And then, I had the Bob Marley stuff. So, Redemption Song, Three Little Birds. And then Steve was a jazz R&B man. So he brought in a lot of good pieces. But it was important because when I told them, my children and I had a group, the Rahim Family Singers, and we did a lot of Sweet Honey in the Rock pieces of music because it was a cappella, very revolutionary, spiritual, and so we incorporated a lot of those kind of pieces in our repertoire also.
Okay, I gotta jump in real quick because you invoked Sweet Honey in the Rock, and I just thought about that group. And I don't want it to go unsaid that your daughter has sung with Sweet Honey in the Rock.
And sang with them. They still hire her.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Come a long way from the Daughters of Light, huh?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And the second oldest daughter, she's a surgeon up in Chicago.
Okay.
And I don't think you got a chance to see us last year at the Beachland Ballroom, did you?
Afi, I was there. I took your picture, brother. I documented
That's
that.
what I said. You always everywhere. And see, that was an experience because we hadn't sang since they went to college and had a life. And my son-in-law, Kanan Hill, he wanted to hear the word again. So that's what that was about. It was one of his desires to hear the word. And this time I got a chance to incorporate another daughter of light, which was my granddaughter. And, it was the bomb.
Yes.
It was.
Well, Baba Afi, this hour has flown by. I told you it would, and we unfortunately have come to the end of the program.
Oh.
But we had a conversation the other day, and I know that you mentioned that you have a lot of songs and you have some desire to maybe do more musically. So I want to wish you success in relaunching a musical career if you've been on hiatus for a while. And also just want to thank you for being who you have been to the musical community in Cleveland, because a lot of those shows would not have been successful had it not been for your stage direction. And also thank you for your service to the community with Hue People, because you all have done a great thing in terms of raising and maintaining consciousness through your art. Thanks for joining me on Open Door.
Appreciate it.
All right. And as always, Know yourself, love yourself, be yourself. Make today your absolute best day. Peace.
Peace.